Tonight, Fox 31 and Channel 2 News bring you this special presentation honoring Black history in Colorado.
Colorado is rich with history, powerful legacies, incredible stories of resilience.
It became harder and harder for the segregationists to deny that there was an equal playing field here.
Things were not easy, but they did not give up. Tonight, we explore the past, the future, the innovators, and how Colorado is rising up, fighting through this pandemic, and honoring Black history. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Shawl Turner. Tonight, we begin with what was once called Harlem of the West. Denver's Five Points neighborhood was once a destination for some of the world's most famous performers and now has some of the most sought-after real estate in the city. Under the lights on Welton Street, you'll find a rich history and a few secrets. A walk down Welton Street in Denver's Five Points neighborhood, past the great Rossonian Hotel, where jazz greats like Duke Ellington once performed, allows a glimpse of Denver's rich history. But the side streets reveal a more mysterious side.
We're members of the Boule, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity. They protected Dr. Westbrook's identity when he infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan.
Terry Gentry is the great-granddaughter of Denver's first licensed Black dentist, Dr. Thomas Ernest McLean. She stands outside the Black American West Museum on California Street, temporarily closed due to the pandemic. It was once the home of Denver's first licensed Black doctor, Justina Ford. Gentry's great-grandfather joined Dr. Joseph Westbrook, who was of a mixed racial background, to fight injustice. Westbrook bravely snuck into Colorado Ku Klux Klan meetings.
They would take that information and take it back to the Black community to make sure that we were safe.
We just want to have a dialogue.
Today, redevelopment in Five Points is attracting droves of investors. Historian Calvin Williamson wants them to realize the historic gold mine they now call home. He's bringing people together here at the Coffee on the Point Cafe on Welton.
I believe it starts with first getting together, understanding one another, and just have a conversation.
It's got a very rich history, and I really appreciate that.
These colorful murals just really catch your eye. They are actually created by an artist called Thomas Detour Evans, and his latest mural honors teachers enduring the coronavirus pandemic.
It's all about communicating a message.
You turn a street corner or visit your favorite restaurant, and you see them.
It just really stops you and sort of grabs your attention.
Colorful murals reaching to the rooftops, providing a stunning glimpse of everyday people who are nothing short of special in the eyes of artist Thomas Detour Evans.
They too are special, they too are beautiful, they too, can be on a wall.
His latest mural pays tribute to teachers in Denver and the challenges they faced throughout history and during the pandemic.
How will people go back to school and virtual school and all this stuff?
Detour didn't paint what you see here.
How exactly did all of these messages appear on this wall?
So as I was painting the mural, as I painted, I had people come through and actually write messages to teachers. Without you, we have no future.
I kind of never really expected my face to be up on the side of a building.
And this Aurora West College Preparatory Academy teacher appreciates being the face of his message.
Teachers really don't get a lot of the respect that they deserve. They definitely don't get the pay that they deserve.
Here in his downtown Denver studio, the artist uses graphics and his unique color palette to transform photographs into these powerful images.
How do I sort of solve this problem creatively?
He doesn't have a staff that makes business deals in order to showcase his work. In fact, Detour's marketing plan is really quite simple.
Anyone just say, hey, can I paint your wall?
And so is his enduring message.
I think everyone has that sort of special light inside of them. They're not always celebrities and, athletes or anything. It's like regular people like you and I. This is something that I really want to try to continue.
Home run number 715, breaking Babe Ruth's career record.
This year, the sports world said goodbye to one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Hank Aaron is described as a breaker of records and racial divides. In 1973, he broke the great Babe Ruth's home run record, despite receiving constant death threats. Aaron was living in the storage room at the stadium and had to be escorted by bodyguards when he walked to the field. Hank Aaron started his baseball career on a different type of playing field. Between 1920 and 1948, more than 3,000 talented black athletes played in a league of their own, called the Negro Leagues. They were not allowed to play Major League Baseball due to segregation at the time. But a game played right here in Denver ended up changing the course of professional sports. It happened in 1934.
Really kicking off the civil rights movement nationally.
History Colorado's new book, Game Changers, authored by Jason Hansen, outlines the challenges and triumphs of the Negro Leagues and Colorado's prominent role in their success. The Kansas City Monarchs, reigning champions of the Negro Leagues, were invited to play in what was called the Denver Post's World Series of the West.
With every story that these sports writers were sending out from Denver, it became harder and harder for the segregationists to deny that there was an equal playing field here. You couldn't just dismiss this.
In December of 2020, the Major League Baseball Commissioner officially elevated the Negro Leagues to Major League status. Now, when the Kansas City Monarchs played that famous game, they drew the attention of a young baseball hopeful who would eventually join the team and later become the first African American to break the color barrier by becoming a member of the Brooklyn Dodgers. His name was Jackie Robinson. Well, we're just getting started. Up next, we'll introduce you to the bright rodeo stars from Colorado who are taking the sport by storm. But first, a teenager who grew up in Denver once said to family and friends, "I will be mayor of this great city one day." Today, he is Denver's 45th and second African-American mayor. The first was Wellington Webb. A word now from Mayor Michael Hancock about what Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise, means to him.
The I Rise poem by Maya Angelou is so prolific. Whether it's the great entertainers that were down in 5 Points or the pioneers that lived in Deerfield, or those who broke ground moving to places like York Street. Well, we look back for our strength and for our inspiration. You know, who am I to go through difficult times as mayor and then forget about the what Wellington Webb did to open the door so I could be mayor. Who am I to stop and say I can't do it? No, we've got to persevere. The African Americans' role in this country.
Denver's Marade, it's a march and a parade, is one of the largest celebrations in the nation honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But this year, because of the coronavirus pandemic, officials were unable to host the event, but they found a way to honor Dr. King in their own way.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
No march, no rally, quiet streets this year due to the pandemic. But the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Colorado Holiday Commission tells Fox 31 the message remains the same.
We have to remember how Dr. King said that we will either learn to live as brothers or perish as fools.
Dr. Vernell Howard, who managed the construction of this City Park Memorial, created by Ed Dwight in 2002, says Colorado hosts events honoring Dr. King's message in 64 counties. This year, the celebration is online. Throughout the coming weeks, members of the community can post video, pictures, and messages. on the Commission's King Holiday Facebook page, sharing how they're honoring the civil rights leader's message of peace, hope, and equality.
Even this year, it was so important to continue to remember, celebrate, act a day on, not a day off.
Colorado has a rich history that resonates around the world, with millions falling in love with heroes in Western movies and television shows. In reality, 1 in 4 cowboys was black in the Old West, with many excelling in the sport of rodeo. Today, a young crop of athletes includes 2 sisters from Colorado Springs who are poised for greatness.
I am a world champion barrel racer.
They're tough and fearless.
Against the clock with your partner. Barrel racing is, to me, an adrenaline sport.
Savannah and Aaliyah Roberts have big dreams forged along the rodeo circuit.
I just kind of grew up around horses.
Supporting them along their journey, a very proud father.
I'm the driver and I pay their entry fees.
After years of training, both sisters excel in the sport of barrel racing. 19-year-old Aaliyah placing in the Colorado Pro Rodeo Association finals. 13-year-old Savannah, a world champion of the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo and the Professional Armed Forces Rodeo Association. They've been featured in GQ magazine and 5280 magazine's Best of the Mountain West issue.
Oh, very proud of them.
It's a team of you and your horse.
Now, a powerful name in pro rodeo, bull riding champion Abe Morris is making it his mission to help them along the way.
Basically, I can pay it forward.
Morris, the first African-American to earn a Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association announcer's card and a former Fox Sports commentator for the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo, also happens to be a spokesperson for several major Western brands, including Roper Apparel. Today, a surprise for Aaliyah and Savannah.
We got a shopping spree.
2 pairs of boots,
Sweatshirts, hoodies, jeans.
some shoes that I can wear when I'm going to an award ceremony.
Now that all that shopping's done, Aaliyah and Savannah say it's time for them to pay it forward, and they already have a plan for doing that.
I know a lot of little girls that have told me that they want to be like me.
Lessons, horses, whatever I could do to push them forward.
If I have to use a cane years from now, but I want to be in the audience and I want to sit there and just go, hey, I'm glad they made the National Finals Rodeo because of what they did.
The Owl Club of Denver has one mission: to lift up ambitious young women. They've been at it for decades. We'll explore their rich history, most well-known members, and look at how they're supporting the leaders of tomorrow. And Denver's stunning skyline, always worth a second look. But if you look closely, you'll see the work of Denver's first black architect.
I practiced for 25 years delivering babies, much like Dr. Ford did. Dr. Ford was unable to get hospital privileges. I don't know if you know that when she first started, so she did home deliveries. And it was all because of the color of her skin, a giant upon whose shoulders I get to stand. I am the president and CEO of Craig Hospital.
African Americans have made major contributions to society in the areas of technology, business, and art. The carbon light bulb filament was invented by Lewis Latimer in 1881. The 3-light traffic signal created by Garrett Morgan in 1923. Frederick McKinley Jones designed refrigerated trucks in 1940, and even an improved, more sensitive microphone, pretty much like the one I'm wearing right now, was co-invented by James E. West in 1964, the son of one of NASA's famous hidden figures mathematicians. Colorado's beautiful skyline features amazing architecture. In 1959, John Henderson became our first licensed black architect in Colorado. He joined the prestigious Fisher and Davis firm, working on drawings for the Denver Federal Building and Courthouse, known today as the Byron Rogers Federal Office Building, listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
John Henderson's legacy is Denver's legacy. Black history is Colorado history. It's not distinct from it, but a part of it. It's the fabric of our state, of American society more broadly, and it's our shared past.
Henderson also worked on a project for the Colorado School of Mines and Inglewood home for the youngest member of the famed Little Rock Nine, who bravely desegregated Little Rock High School in 1957. Henderson's Northeast Denver home is now a designated historic landmark. Well, our society has celebrated the coming of age of young ladies for decades. Debutante balls showcase hopeful young women ready to take on the world. Denver's Owl Club Cotillion is one of the oldest in Colorado, but behind the flowing white gowns and promenade lies a tradition that continues to make history even during a pandemic. A grand affair. Debutantes dressed in white, reaching for the stars while making a difference here on Earth. It all started here in this Northeast Denver building, a former insurance agency, where the Owl Club still stands today.
Just being a debutante was such an extraordinary honor.
The founders of the club were blacks who traveled out west to find work building Colorado's railroads.
The wives used to call them the night owls because they spent all their time in here.
The Owl Club's mission to provide scholarships and community support for young women filled with promise at a time when opportunities were limited.
The African American young ladies here in this community were not even considered for some of the debutante balls that were being conducted. The Owl Club of Denver decided that we would showcase these young ladies and highlight all of their achievements.
The first 10 debutantes, chosen in 1951 from Denver's Manual and East High Schools. Qualifications are based on merit, grade point average, and community service. A closer look at this photograph reveals one debutante who would later become the first female African-American U.S. Secretary of State and first woman to serve as U.S. National Security Advisor.
In 1971, we presented Condolezza Rice.
Others went on to contribute in areas of law, medicine, and civil service.
This was more about our own personal achievements and about the expectations that the Owl Club had for each of us.
Allegra Happy Haynes has served as Denver City Council member, president of the Board of Education, and is now the executive director of Denver Parks and Recreation. She recalls fond memories of the bond she shared with her sister debutantes.
Condolezza was somebody I actually looked up to. She was even then, so brilliant, so focused, the model debutante.
The Owl Club members are proud to share this wall.
This is Condolezza Rice. There's Happy Haynes.
The tradition continues despite the pandemic.
I am an Owls Club debutante.
This season's debutante presentation was virtual. Still, it meant the world to debutante Gabrielle Shedd, who wants to follow in the steps of dance icon Cleo Parker Robinson, also a former Owl Club debutante.
I remember watching the debutante ball in the kitchen with my grandmother and my sister, and I was completely caught off guard when they announced my name for the $1,000 scholarship.
We have a very rich heritage. We want to continue the legacy of the debutante presentation.
We're proud to say we have a debutante in the Fox 31 Channel 2 family. This Rosa T. Beard debutante was a young woman who dreamed of working in television one day. Now, Morgan Paul is working for our company Nexstar, producing this very special. Well, a modern-day Buffalo Soldier troupe is keeping history alive, traveling the West, sharing the stories of black soldiers who served in the 1800s. Next, how they're surviving after the pandemic forced them to cancel shows and the very special demonstration they put on just so we could share it with you. The Buffalo Soldiers were freed slaves who helped build the American West. Today, a nonprofit Colorado-based performance troupe dedicated to telling their story is struggling due to the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic, but still, they rise.
Riding hard and riding fast. Riding hard and riding fast. I hope this food is going to last.
Their shows canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic.
I was the only one to make it out, I'm sure.
But they will ride again.
The officer would say, "First Sergeant, ring me a tune." And he'd go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." My name is Fred Applewhite, and I am the first sergeant of the Buffalo Soldiers of the American West.
Regimental Sergeant.
I am the lieutenant of the Buffalo Soldiers M Troop.
Dedicated to sharing the story of the 10th Cavalry Regiment of the United States Army, formed in 1866 after the Civil War.
We were finding out our history that was left out of the history books.
I impersonate Kathy Williams, who was the only documented female Buffalo Soldier.
The white officers actually got a little bump in their rank by taking a African American regiment, so some of them were motivated by the pay. Others were motivated by the message and the mission.
Many times when they went into battle with black soldiers and white soldiers back then would fight side by side. That's called survival.
The oldest surviving Buffalo Soldier, Mark Matthews, was born in 1894. He died at the age of 111 and was buried at Arlington National Cemetery in 2005. His memory honored by this troop, created by Denver Public School educators.
I'm a high school teacher at Thomas Jefferson High School.
A rodeo bull rider.
First Sergeant Kenneth Johnson.
And others teaching a story to the world with a message for all times.
I think if we learn the shared history and the shared hardships, I think that could propel us beyond some of the arguments and debates that we have today.
Buffalo Soldiers was not just black history. They are part of American history.
Incredible people from across Colorado have found ways to inspire and carry on despite the coronavirus pandemic. And that's really the message of our show. Finding ways to meet challenges and to pull through. In other words, finding ways to just hang in there. We leave you now with an iconic poem from Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. I'm Shel Turner. Thank you for joining us for this Fox 31 and Channel 2 News special.
You may write me down in history
with your bitter, twisted lies.
You may trod me in the very dirt,
but still, like dust, I'll rise.
Does my sassiness upset you?
Why are you beset with gloom?
Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room.
Just like moons and like suns.
With a certainty of tides.
Just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise.
Did you want to see me broken?
Bowed head and lowered eyes.
Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries.
Does my haughtiness offend you?
Don't you take it awfully hard.
Because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my backyard.
I rise.
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 I rise.